The Bambu Lab H2C with Vortek nozzle changer is here, but in this video we put aside the hype and look at what works well and what just doesn't make sense. Whether it's AMS based, nozzle changing, or full tool changer, multi-filament 3D printing is coming on strong. And the way I see it, the more options for us, the better. But in order to make an informed choice, we need honest opinions so we can pick and choose the best option. With that in mind, let's explain several things. This printer was sent to me free of charge to be tested in accordance with my review policy. And I signed an embargo saying I couldn't discuss it until it was released, but there were no other restrictions. I do not consider this video a review, as I've only got 75 hours on the machine, but I will link my H2D review because there is a lot of crossover and there's a section you should see on controversies surrounding Bambu Lab as a company. In this video you will see some comparisons with the Snapmaker U1 because I have that on hand, and I wanted to include some comparisons with the Prusa XL, but guess what, it's broken down again. And finally, I'm not trying to sell you anything, there's no affiliate links in the description for this video. As a rule, I don't watch any other content creators' videos for something that I'm currently testing, but if you're looking to buy this machine, you should absolutely watch as many as possible and look for trends. Let's briefly start with unboxing and setup. And like the other H-series printers, this one is massive and heavy, but fortunately has these removable clips, which allow the top of the box to be removed for easier access. To guide you through all of the steps, we have a hard copy quick start guide. And I have no complaints here, it's well illustrated, the English is well written, the steps are clear, and it's easy to follow along. For most people, if they're flying solo at least, the hardest part of the setup will be lifting the printer out of the bottom of the box and up onto a bench, because after that, most of the time goes into removing tape and plastic, and then removing pieces of foam and undoing screws that hold temporary pieces in place to protect the printer during shipping. I'd say most people will have these steps done comfortably under 20 minutes. We start to deviate from the H2D on the right hand side of the printer as we undo the cable ties for the Vortek nozzle changing system. And I couldn't resist playing with it to try and work out how it was going to function. As you'd expect, the packaged accessories also differ as we have all of our nozzles to place into the Vortek docks. As for the AMS2, it's exactly the same setup as the other H-series printers. Remove packaging, add desiccant, and then plug in one cable and a PTFE tube. After turning on the printer, the easy setup continues. We select our region, language, and then connect to the Wi-Fi. This can be skipped and done later, but the printer is clearly designed to be online. And the exact same thing can be said for binding your printer to your Bambu Lab account. To finish, there's a completely automatic calibration sequence that runs for just under 30 minutes, meaning for most people, they'll have the printer up and running in under an hour. Included in that hour is ogling the Vortek system as it goes through its paces and switches between nozzles. If you like watching precise mechanisms do their thing, then you'll love these steps. I started by loading up 5 different spools of PLA, one of them external and the other 4 in the AMS, with this working the same as other Bambu Lab machines, their own filament being detected automatically and everything else being set via the touchscreen. I started the only 5-color demo print pre-sliced on the machine. It took over 4 hours, but honestly the result is spectacular. It's a super clean print and I can't really see anything wrong with it. And when you turn it upside down, it gets even better. That print in place section, captive in the middle, has 4 different colors as well as black on the top and bottom. There's no stringing, no contamination, just perfect function and appearance. It's super impressive but comes at a cost. This demo print weighs in at 17 grams for the actual model, but then the purge tower that's laid down as the layers stack up comes in at 28 grams. There's minimal purge waste from the calibration at the start of the print, but the purge block waste on this print is quite excessive. More on that later. Let's take this chance to perform a deep dive into how the Vortek system works, and in essence it is a nozzle changing system, similar to the upcoming Index from Vortek, but not the same as a tool changer as seen in the XL that changes the entire hot end and extruder assembly, or Snapmaker's U1 tool changer which switches over everything except the part cooling fan. Compared to those, the Vortek system has some pros and cons. The first thing to know is, like the H2D, this is a twin nozzle setup, with the left nozzle acting as before, moving up and down with a special seal on the bottom that swings into place. And whereas the H2D had a normal nozzle on the right hand side, that's where the Vortek system resides instead. So the Vortek system only operates with the right hand nozzle. Now let's look at the actual nozzles. which are completely wireless. Rather than have a built-in heater, they use induction heating with an element in the tool head going around this part, similar to wireless power for your phone, but a lot more powerful. But we still have a PCB on top to handle other functions. For instance, an RFID tag integrated into each nozzle so the printer can register each one, know what filament was loaded in, as well as the size. We can also see the wires going up the side for a thermistor, which is read wirelessly. Finally, there's a magnet built into the top, which is how they're held in the dock of the Vortek system. Now the actual nozzle changing sequence is over in a second or two. It's very fast, but that's only half the story. And that's because the 6-nozzle Vortek system is still fed by a single PTFE tube up to an AMS or AMS systems. So for every change, just like a regular AMS system, the previous filament needs to be all the way retracted up before the new filament is fed all the way back to the Vortek nozzle. This is the first thing that's obviously going to add a fair bit of time, but there's also some purging to take place. If we use a loose piece of filament and push it through the opening all the way down until it stops, we've got approximately 55mm of filament. In looking inside a nozzle that's been used, we can get a clue for what's going on. When a color is finished with, it will be cut using a filament cutter just like any other Bambu Lab printer. And before it's retracted, the old filament needs to push what's left in the nozzle down a few millimeters. When the new nozzle is selected, regardless of whether it has filament in it or not, over the next 10 or 15 seconds, filament has to be purged through the nozzle until it reaches the melt zone. And based on my observations, that's around 55mm as we measured earlier. Again, this uses extra time and extra filament. And it has to go all the way up to the melt zone, otherwise any retraction early on will separate the new filament from the old, and that's going to cause problems for print quality. So let's start a timer from the second that we leave the purge block. The nozzle lifts up, heads towards the back, and then around 5 or 6 seconds in, it does the filament cut by pressing the button on the right hand side. The Vortek system then springs into action, and the actual nozzle change takes place in under 12 seconds. But now the slow part begins, as the nozzle goes above the purge block, and we have to wait for the AMS to get rid of the old filament and then feed back in the new one. What you're seeing here is real time for a default change, and we have to keep waiting and waiting all the way up to 30 seconds before any printing with the new nozzle takes place, and then another 5 or 6 seconds while the purging takes place and the model can resume. So while the actual Vortek nozzle changing system is extremely snappy, the actual speed of a filament change mid-print is an altogether different proposition because of the system packaged with it. To accommodate the Vortek system in Bambu Studio, we have some changes in interface. On the device page, if we switch from filaments to hot ends, we can see that the printer is keeping track of all of the nozzles. This includes the type, size, as well as the last used filament within it. And if we click for more info, we can get an insane amount of detail, like the firmware version on each nozzle and the RFID serial number. All of this is synced with the slicer, and when we go to do a print, it calculates how to best use the nozzles and gives us a preview as to which will be used for what filament. We have a similar expansion of the interface built into the touchscreen, and again in the Bambu Handy app, where we have the same capability to see the status of the Vortek nozzles, as well as everything else you use to monitoring with your Bambu Lab printer. We know changes aren't fast, but how efficient are they in terms of filament wastage? Well, I'm pleased to report that the pre-sliced file was definitely an anomaly. I'm increasingly using this Mandalorian bust as a 4-color torture test. It's got a lot of fine details, and the stitching in particular makes for a series of tiny extrusions, which is hard work on the machine. Here's a comparison between the same model and filament on the Snapmaker U1 and the H2C. The bronze silk filament shares fine stringing on each, but I think the details on the H2C are a little better on the fine points. Both good prints, but I think the H2C version is just a tiny bit better. Our model to waste ratio for this bust is not too bad, with the model weighing 127 grams and the purge tower coming in at 94 grams. These values are pretty close to what was predicted in the slicer, with 82% of the model's weight in waste. That doesn't sound amazing, but if we compare the same model sliced the same way but for an X1 carbon, the first generation AMS will produce 5.5 times as much waste as the weight of the model. So the H2C is an improvement, but nowhere near as efficient as a dedicated tool changer like the Snapmaker U1, where the waste is only a quarter of the weight of the model. Here's another comparison, a fidget toy produced in 3 colors of PLA. We need some light pressure on the Snapmaker U1 version, but everything does come loose and folds as it should. This print took a total of 2 hours. The model weighs in at 32 grams and the waste at only 4 grams, a waste ratio of 13%. Here's the same model printed twice on the H2C using two different settings, the first the default and the second changing the purge mode from standard to purge saving, which is meant to save on filament and time. Default, a print time of 3 hours 39, with purge saving mode, shaving that down to 3 hours 32, a saving of 7 minutes. It says there's a potential reduction in quality from this mode, but I can't really tell any difference between the two. Each of them move freely and they have a good surface finish. Each version of the model came in at 38 grams, with the default purge tower being 11 grams, and the purge saving version dropping that down to 8 grams. So a worthwhile saving, mainly in waste, for little to no impact in print quality. I also tested some single filament prints, taking advantage of the sealed chamber with active heating. I had a series of long functional prints that I completed in ASA, which included a plate full of small parts that had no stringing in between, and larger prints that took up the whole plate with great first layers and no warping. Like the H2D, this is a key strength for the machine. It produces parts that are fast, nice looking and of high quality. A more challenging print were these two large parts from carbon fiber reinforced nylon. Again, they completed without any warping, and even after cooling were firmly stuck to the bed. The surface finish on these is quite good, but the quality does suffer a little bit on the areas with big overhangs, particularly the large bridges on the inside of the model, which will require a little bit of cleaning up. For those that don't want to do multi-material prints, but simply want to store various engineering filaments, the H2C works well here, as you have convenient loading and each can be allocated their own nozzle to avoid cross-contamination. Efficiency aside, the H2C was performing well, but then I found some more significant downsides. For this video, I designed a multi-material torture test, which I've published to printables for free. You assign the materials as you're seeing here in the slicer, and the finished print, seen here done on a U1, gives a PLA and TPU junction to test, some PETG to PLA support to peel off, and then an extremely tight slider mechanism with minimal clearance between PLA and PETG parts. There's no vertical gap between the two materials, so they'll likely need some loosening up. But once they separate, you pass the torture test with a junction that can slide back and forth without any wobble. So how about the H2C? Well, if you recall, the left-hand nozzle moves up and down, so like the H2D, you're not meant to print TPU from it. In fact, if you try to load it up, you'll get an error message and an instruction to use the right extruder instead. So for most TPUs, you need to use the external feed into the right extruder and move the AMS to the left-hand side. But that means the right-hand extruder can no longer use the Vortek system. For multi-material where one of them is TPU, it becomes completely redundant. So I set up my job where PETG and PLA were shared on the left-hand nozzle, which did give me a warning, I assume about cross-contamination, but clicking the link unfortunately didn't help. Because of these changes, this print was not only slow, but produced the type of poop waste that usually comes with the first generation Bambu Lab AMS systems. But worst of all, as I tried to separate the PLA and PETG parts, they disintegrated. I guess cross-contamination completely ruined the interlayer strength. Maybe it's just me, but I swear this grey has a brown tinge from where the two filaments are contaminated. I tried to give this another chance, upping the multiplier for flushing from 1 to 1.6, but the new version suffered from exactly the same fate, and at this stage I stopped because I was sick of wasting time and filament. As an alternative, if you're happy to be locked into using TPU for AMS from Bambu Lab, you could run that on the left extruder and pair the AMS back with the Vortek on the right. I loaded up regular TPU to the left-hand side and told the machine it was TPU for AMS, lowering the flow rate down from 12 to 3 mm cubed per second to see how it would go. Bambu Lab told me they've been testing this with promising results, but all I got was jam after jam. Now let's talk about nozzle diameter, and as you can see, by default you have a 0.2, 4.4s and 1.6mm nozzle that comes with the machine, and this has the potential to be extremely convenient. When you want to print something small and detailed like a mini, you can have the 0.2mm nozzle ready to go and simply select it, and the next time you're printing something really large and want it fast, you can instead select the 0.6mm nozzle, which will be loaded up and ready to go. But what you can't do, and no slicer can at the moment, is have different size nozzles within the same print. I think Vortek would make more sense if this wasn't a limitation. Imagine a large bus with 0.4 outer walls, 0.6 nozzle for strong fast infill, and then the 0.2mm nozzle being utilized for fine features. Bambu Lab told me they were considering bringing this in the future, but there's no timeline as of yet. Finally, some smaller bugs and annoyances, and most 3D printers these days have preparation time, but that's not always accurate for the H2C. For instance, nozzle offset calibration is not factored in, And if you leave this on auto, it'll still take place before every print, even if the nozzles have been used before. Based on my testing, it adds around 10 minutes to the duration, meaning 15 minutes before your print even starts. I would like to see the print time updated to be more accurate. I had a persistent bug where I was told that my bed was not in place properly, when every time I checked it was clearly seated properly. You can override this, but a few times it caught me out and the printer was sitting there waiting without me knowing. And finally, the print volume. The exterior case matches the H2D, but with a different shade of grey, but due to the Vortek system sitting on the right hand side, it has less build volume in the X-axis compared to the H2D. We're talking around a 20mm reduction, so keep that in mind if you're looking to print large objects. So how would I summarize my first impressions of this machine? Well, they're actually quite mixed. The Vortek tool changing system is an engineering masterpiece. I love watching it do its thing, and after thousands of swaps, it's proven to be reliable, accurate, and precise. However, that being said, pairing a 6-nozzle system through a single tube to an AMS or AMSs just doesn't really make that much sense as a concept to me. It seems like an obvious bottleneck. While the H2C has big improvements in filament wastage and print duration compared to their previous generations, they're nowhere near as efficient as a dedicated tool changer, so that's something to keep in mind if you're looking at a few different options. One advantage here is availability, as you can pre-order now, at about half the price of the equivalent Prusa XL. The Snapmaker U1 and the Vortek Index is still some months away, so that might be attractive to those who already like Bambu Lab printers. And if you like, you can order it in the cutting version too. Anyway, that's my opinion, but I want to know yours, so let me know by heading down to the comments section and telling me what you think about the H2C. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy 3D printing. G'day, it's Michael again. If you liked the video, then please click like. If you want to see more content like this in future, click subscribe and make sure you click on the bell to receive every notification. If you really want to support the channel and see exclusive content, become a patron. Visit my Patreon page. See you next time.